So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is a C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 30 and here we continue with our exercise. And I have to tell, I made a big crap. What I mean with that is this program, this challenge is too difficult for starters. Actually, what I mean with that is it's very, very challenging, even for not for advanced programmers. I mean, it is very challenging because we use very limited knowledge. We have here only this one and only this things here what we have learned so far. And the problem is this whole database structure what I wanted to make, it's easy to do if we know some more keywords, but because we don't know so much at start, we have used many tricks to achieve that what you could later do in some minutes, right? And here you have to think much more. So if you could not finish this exercise, no problem. If you made it not, doesn't matter. But if you made it, then you trained hard programming, because what I mean with that is here you concentrated no more on creating just keywords and something like that, because here you did that what later programmers do, solve problems, and they are concentrating on the problems, not on the keywords, because later the keywords, after you finish the basics, you don't care about keywords and about structures anymore. You try to solve this problem. And let's get into it where we stop. And I have here not a full solution because that was wasting too much time, but I show you one solution how you can do something and make something. So we made so far that we enter the player's name, the scores, and then we stopped here where I said I want to compare the scores with my database best list. Yes, we created here this database best list, but how we compare and to find out how we can compare this one with the scores, there are probably different ways. I just come up with one way which I think it's fast. It's probably not perfect, but like I said, this one I want not make perfect because I just want find anyone, and you should find just a solution too. So, and if you find nothing, no worry. The important part is here trying to solve it. So I did just say, let me get here my already finished code up. So no, let's get it not up, so it's not good. Let me see what I made here, and then I show you that. So first of all, to compare, I said we need a for loop, right? Let's start with a for loop. Okay, for, and then we have here our int I start point 0, because this is our start point. Then we have our endpoint I less than 10. All right, and then we have our increment of our I variable, which is our variable which will loop. Then we go here, make the body, which we learned so far, and this body will loop over till this end condition is reached. All right, so far. Let me look this one here, because this one I want to explain you why I make this and so on, but let me go there. So then, okay, this one is not this one. Phone number and so true, yes. So what we want to do is we want to compare our, let's see, layer number here 1 with the database number. So how we can compare it with a for loop in general? The easiest way is we use just a if loop normally. I don't have here a if loop, but I have here. We use a if loop. So not if loop. Oh my god. we use a if clause. And if clause, we use a if clause because we write here the condition, and then I just write the score player name 1, his score num, and I compare it with the database slot, which I'm looping here through, right? That's the trick here, why we use these variables now. First of all, score from player number 1. This is our number, and I can compare if this one is greater than database. And then important is, this is a variable, but which slot we want. At start, it should start from 0, but later it goes up to 10. So we use here I. And why we use this I? Because this I will change all time here. It is incrementing every loop. Good. We have a comparison for every loop, and we compare our score with every value here. Perfect. But we need, of course, write the body of the if statement. We write it, and we can print this out, but we need to achieve something with this comparison. I have not defined what I want to achieve. Here it says, if my score value is greater than I found anything in my database numbers, then what I want to do, that's the point here. What I want to do then, and what I want to do, I have to write here in the if statement. And actually, I want to replace this. I want to replace at this point this database, right? So I go here through. Let's say I find a number here. Let's say it's bigger than 22. I found 23, which means later I want include my number in this database. And how I'm going to do this, right? That's why I'm making this here. I want compare the scores with my database best list. Oh, that's wrong, because it says here I want just compare it with my database best list. I have never said that I want write something here. So then we don't need that, at least not here at this point. Very good. So I compared them. This is just a compare them, and I can write here std say out, and I just write here found something. And yeah, and what I found, I can even specify found. Yeah, let's write found something first, and let's see what comes out when I compile this one. We have all time checked this code. That's very important. Here, coder, and then I write here Superman, and I write here some numbers. And it says here found something, and found something. So the problem is here, okay, you found something, but where? I mean, we can't see it really. And we have now to find a way to say, okay, you found something, but I can't see it, where you found and how I'm going to use that. But I compared it. I want to compare the scores. With my database, I compared only that my score found something in the database which is greater than the database. That's a very important hint for us, because we want later right here, I want to write them in my top 10 if they are good enough, right? So here we just found that we have something which is better than our scores. And that's enough for right now. That's perfect. Let's skip it here, and we come back it later if we have to change something. Right now, I don't know. Right now, I say it's okay. And then next comment. It says here, I need a database best list. Oh, we have this already. Here, I want to compare the scores with my database best list. So I created already a database best list here, which means this comment we can just delete. We already did this. It's not needed anymore. So we don't need to convert it. So you see, we just develop our code and change here what we need. We add later perhaps something, we delete something. And this is calling also development, because the word development means you develop by changing, adding, deleting, and then perhaps changing again later for profiling, which means make the code better and stylish. But this kind of stuff we don't do right now. We just try to make the code work. That's all our goal, and use all the keywords. Let's continue a little bit. Okay, I did this one. I compared. I found a hint that my score is bigger than something. Good. Let's go on. I want to write them in my top 10, which means I want to write them here in it. If they are good enough. Yes, if they, of course, which means I have to find a score of my player which is good enough. And this one I already did here, right? I found, if this prints out found something, which means the player scores was better than anything here in the database. So if they are good enough, I already covered. But here I have a problem. I want to write them in my top 10. How we can solve that? And this is again a tricky one. I look my thing here and I see here many numbers. All right, let's get started. If I will make here something new and I introduce you, let's take it here. Let's make here, I introduce you two variables. I will explain them in a moment. Let's make up them here on top. If you hold Alt in Visual Studio and press the arrow keys up and down, you can move this kind of stuff. And then if you have here a comment, press just, well, like we learned, Control K and U to uncomment it. And I add here on top to my variable list two more variables. The first variable is just a number which says found the number, and I initialize it with 0. That's not very, that's all time a good practice to initialize numbers. For example, here I have initialized it with nothing. This is a very bad practice, but it will not kill you. But keep that in mind. Initialize normally values like so, not like so. The point is, if you don't initialize these values, this variable here, they will have still values in it, but the compiler will give them random values. For example, if we print this one out without initialization, it will print out something like minus 8,952 or 1,200,000 and something like that, right? So a random number in an int range. And that's why they say most time initialize this with a value. But in general, it will not harm you, but can harm you. That's why they say it. And read this a little bit more in the documentation. Let's continue here with our program. So I created here one with int found number 0. And I created here a bool. This one we learned also. A bool means yes or no. Found number true. And it says here the found number must be true, but at start I set it to false, because as I say at start you are no, and when you found the number, this one should set to be to true. So, and why I need this all stuff, the point is we will do only something when we found the number. Which this found number must be set, and we set this here later. Okay, this one I have not shown here what I'm going to do, because I already created here some code. Let me see how I explain you this. Then we go here, found number is database. Yeah, okay. Okay, let me show you this one too, perhaps, because it will be messy if I don't show you this one. Yes. Yeah, will be messy. Let's go here to this one. So instead of this found something, I write here a little bit more code. And what I'm going to write here is Control-KU for uncomment. Is I write a if statement, and a if statement means I check something, and I check all time this condition here. And then I say the score player name 1 should be greater than I found something in the database, right? Because here at this point, I said only I found something, but I have not compared it to what I found. And here at this line, with this if statements, I go one step further and say the score player number 1 should be greater than anything I've found. Oops, is this true? I think I made this already here because I take this here out. Yeah, that's not true because, sorry, I mean it is true, but I already wrote this here. I made this double now. Sorry for that. So now it's okay. Control F for format. If you press select all and press Control F, it formats them. This is auto format. That's nice. So we have not all time go format down. So what I want to say is, now I go in and check all the scores to a certain thing, and the thing is here greater. The greater comparison, we learned this, and if it's greater than my score player name 1, which I've and I compare this to the database. So I just want found which is greater. And here is very important something I not mentioned this also before. This thing here, what I write now, will only work if this list, what we have here, is sorted, right? What I mean with sorted is it goes here, the numbers goes bigger, 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 but are not in random, so random here in the start list. For example, 500 is not at start and 3 is not here in the middle anywhere. That means it is sorted. That's very important because that what I'm going to do is not working without this one. Anyway, let's continue. So I compared this, and if this one says now, yes, I found something, which also I found you that your score is bigger than something in the database, then I will do this. So let's see what it's doing. It says I will print out the slot number. That's nice, because then I know where it is found, where it is the place where it's found, that my score is bigger. Nice, good, very good information. And then I say here a little bit to make it more readable. I wrote here see out better than, and then I wrote here just the database. Okay, that's also good because a little bit visualizing for the programmer to make it easier. And then I say here the found number, which is this number I stored. That's why I create here the found number int, because I want stored this I number. And why I'm storing that is I want to replace later this in the database. For example, this I number is, let's say it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Let's say it's the 2. No, let's say 0, 1, it's 1. Then this number I1 will be saved, and later I will change this I to my score. And how I'm going to do this comes now. So there is one more thing. This boolean, I set found number to true, and this one is again a checker variable, which we will need later. Yes, this is a little bit hard to understand right now, but later you will understand it. So let's continue a little bit, because okay, this one we covered. Let's go to the next part, and yeah, I think that's it for my comparison. And important is, let's check the code if this is working. That's all time important. Let's debug it. Control save, debug it. Perhaps I made again here some crap. Let's say, okay, we have here again coder Superman. This time he got 33. This time he got also 33. And we have here 0 better than 3. Okay. And 1 better than 22. What gives this information? I said here 0. Also the first number is our slot number. Let me go here. Okay, the slot number. And then I print out the database value. So this one is the slot of the database. And this one is the database value, which is better. So my 33, what I have here, is better than the slot number 1, which has 22. And later, my goal is now to replace this, because in the next line, okay, that was it. We can close this one. This is closed. We are finished with this one. And here I say I want to write them in my top 10 if they are good enough. And in this case means if I found something, and now we go here to the bool found number true. Yes, I found something. Then I want to write something here. That's why I make this found. And now I think not to waste too much time, I bring just this code up and explain you this one this time, not develop it. Normally developing it's better from start to and explain it by developing why I'm doing what this and that. But I wasted here a lot of time already. Uncomment. So I go here a little bit, and this one is anyway too complicated for beginners, I think, because it was a little bit overpowered. I thought it's not so difficult, but yeah. After I did it, I know it. All right, let's go on. So what I'm doing here, first of all, I start with a if. If means all time what? We check something. And we want to do something after a condition is true. And our condition is very simple. If I found a number here, if I found a number, which means my score player number is greater one of this database number, it will set this found number true to true, because the start it's false. It has nothing. No, I found not a number. But if I go in this if statement, means I find something and I set it to true. That's very important. And that's why I start here with my condition found number true. And here what I use is a comparison operator with two equal signs. And I compare it with the keyword true. True means if this one says true, which means yes, and this one says yes, then I will enter this body here, right? My body. If this says one of this one is not true, which means it will be false, then I will skip the complete if statement here. Okay, and then I go to the next step. Now I found a number which I want to replace in my database, and how I'm going to replace this. And this is not so easy normally, because we have now loop through all the datas again and find a way to replace it, right? And definitely we need a loop here, but you could also do it one by one without a loop. I mean, you could write it really one by one, but yeah, like I said, database can later be big, around over 100,000 millions of data, so we have to learn this loop a little bit to use. So we get started. A loop, we have the keyword for, we have our start point, which is again int I0 in my case. Then we have our end point, which is I must less be 10. Here important less because 10, because we start with 0. These are then also 10 elements, and here we have our increment, which means all time this I get +1 every loop. That's done. And till this end condition is not finished, this one will loop. Let's go to the next point. What I did here is a special case, and a special case means when we go back to our database here on top, when I replace one of these datas here, I have a problem, and the problem is because when I replace, let's say I have found the number 33, and 33 should be replaced, for example, should come after 22, right? But if I insert 33 here, then I need to extend my array, and that is possible, but not right now for us. Or you make a new array, which is also possible. But I did here another solution, which means I just kicked out the first element because this one is sorted, which means I can kick out one element, and then I included and then I started from this one, and then I include the number which I need at this position. Sounds a little bit complicated to achieve, but there are different ways too. Let's get into it. So what I did here is here I start the loop. The loop will go through the whole database. That's good, because now I must say something like found number. And this, what is this found number? Let's remind, found number is the slot in the database. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Let's say this I is the slot. Let's say I found it here, which means 0, 1. This would be the slot 1. Then this found number would be 1, right? Because it's the slot name, not the value. Careful, that's tricky. And then what I'm doing is I say here at the top again a comparison operator. I compare it with the current I. And what is this current I here? It is the variable which loops through the whole which is the slot actually, which loops through the whole array database, right? So let me show you that. For example, it starts with 0, then I is 0, it then comes 1, then it's so on. But why I'm doing this? The question is why I'm doing that? Because the found number slot and this I are also representing more or less a slot. And if they are equal, then I will replace exactly this point. Let me show you this here on top. Let's say I have slot 1. Let's say defined found number is 1. Then the I, which is looping, goes here 0, 1. Then this one will be same, and this one will be replaced, right? Then this one is later the next value which I have in slot 1. The problem is here when I replace this one, we have to push this one in front, or we are deleting this one. And that's why I used here a trick, which is, yeah, doable, but perhaps there are other better ways and so. And this trick is, let's see what I did here. Else, let's go to the else state, because this one is only one condition. In general, it will all time just loop through the database. But here I used a little trick. I said here if I plus 1, that's very important. This is just this I is a number, and plus operator, we learned this also, is just arithmetic plus 1, right? So I made, and but what we not learned is that we can use it here. That's new. Of course, you could use this variable outside too, anywhere here, for example, I plus 1 anyhow. And then not like this. This one is probably not correct. So, but you could use this anywhere here too. And oops, not M. Is what I'm writing now. It's so, and then would be also anyway how possible not to write it directly here. I wrote it directly in because I was too lazy, because it's possible too. So let's go on. What I did here is I said if I start, because I know that I need to kick one element out, definitely, if I find one. Only if I find one, and here I said found number true. So here in this block I know I found one. So I can write here I plus 1, which means I skip one element definitely. And the one element will be the first element. I will definitely skip this one here. And then I say if I plus 1 is less than 10, that's very important too. It must be less than 10 because we get an error here if this is out of bounds. That's very important. Then I say, okay, the database I, which is here, this I which you see here comes from here, from the for loop, should be the database I plus 1. And what I'm doing here is just write the database again in itself. What I mean with that is this is the database which I have. These are the database. And this one is a normal assignment. I take the database, assignment operator, I take the database again, but this time I take the database one more. Let's say this is 0 slot. This is then 0 plus 1, which is the next slot. Also, this is the 1 slot. If this is 1, then this is 2, and assign the values there. And which means this line alone would just assign the database again in it. Only difference, it will skip 1. And this one skip I covered here with this one here on top. I said found the number here, then write this one here in. That sounds a little bit very wishy-washy and so on. And there are many other better ways, but I want to just show you. Let me see if there is something else. No, this is not. Then it's possible. I won't write them in my top 10 if they are good enough. Let's test this code and see what we have here. So I write here coda. Superman. And the score of coder is, let's say 33. Let's stay here 44. And now when we read here the database, of course we should perhaps here make some more as printing out what we are doing here. But here is the database which we created, the new database. And we have here 22. 33, so we have included that one, very nice. And here 0 better than 3, 1 better than 22, and 22 is now on our first place, which I wanted, because, and our 3 is kicked out because I said the first element will be kicked out in my system because it is ordered, and when I include a new, I kick out 1 at least. That's it. And we could continue now, but I think I stop here. And this I won't print out top 10 list. Okay, I have done here 2 steps, and this is the last thing here. I said I won't print out top 10 list. I already printed them out here while I'm doing that. So I made many steps here actually in one. So I won't write them in my top 10 if they are good enough. And I won't print them out. Yes, I have printed them out here already. So this step is included here. So you see, this program was and we have to continue this, of course, with the player 2 now, and then perhaps you want names included and so on. There are tricks and so on. But important message here is, you see that we have just these keywords. We have learned just here, how many keywords are this? Only 6 keywords. And then, of course, there's other things also. And we created here already a very powerful program already with less, right? Later, when you learn, of course, more keywords, becomes also easier. For example, this, what we did here, was really a little bit the hard way, because this is more complicated for a programmer, because he knows more keywords and he knows much easier way to solve something like that, because he can use, there are already finished structures, and then he use a very simple structure and solve this problem what we hard tried to, let's say, maneuver from their point to this point and then try to figure out this one and this one. He made this later with perhaps 2 lines or something like that. Yes, but I said this one was a little bit hard. It was challenging, but the important thing is, you learned here, if you tried this really hard, a very important lesson. And the lesson is, you shifted your thinking from keywords, which are just meaning understanding and repeating what they are, to programming. Programming means here not knowing these keywords. This is because knowing these keywords later are basics. Basics means, yes, you should know this. These are tools, right? And tools, you should know how to use it. But programming later means how you achieve goals, how you achieve tasks. For example, how you achieve now printing this out. And then we had to struggle here. I could delete this one. I need a sorted array here, and then I could go there. And all these questions are actually more programming than just learning keywords. These keywords are very basic stuff, which you have to do in this basic tutorials, but this thinking about tasks and how to solve them, this is the real programming stuff what you do later. That's why we learned this one here at the start too. So when you are finished with these keywords, then you don't ask yourself how I'm going to use that and so on. And of course, you saw here one more very important thing. Let's point this out as well. How to use them together, right? Let's look how many variables we have. We have here our loop, then variables again, variables, comparing, incrementing variables, putting out variables, creating and assigning variables. And here we have again variables, comparison, again variables, and with the structure for else. But you see how we are using these variables to achieve goals, to achieve something. That's crazy. It's very important. But at the start of this tutorial, I said, when you handle variables, how to use them, how to manipulate them, how to save them, how to get them, how to change them, and so on, then you are really good later in programming. And that's, with that, I stop here. I know this program was a little bit overpowered, but in the next tutorial we continue with a little bit easier stuff. We continue with some keywords again, some simple explanations what they are, and simple examples. Okay, with that said, bye, and I hope you succeeded with this hard challenge for beginners. And yeah, bye.